Hello and welcome back to another episode of Scrollies. It is I, Team Ratnado of twitch.tv/Team Ratnado, and I'm here with, well, do I even need to say much more? But I will, because he's my co-host.
It is I, Squat Cobbler. I'm here to tell you a tale.
Oh boy, he's already getting the wordplay going. He must be excited, everybody. And the best thing about today, those of you who are here, those of you who saw it, I wasn't even going to try and hide it because you can always see the names before you actually get into it. Hey, but maybe there's one person who didn't look at it.
Reading's hard. You have to scroll all the way to the end of the title. We're having our most vocal fan on the Scrollies podcast today. He's been with us from the start, listening along, plugging us multiple times in the span of a few minutes.
This man is SheriffMcLawdog!
Woo!
You know what, kids? Dreams do come true. If you give as much free advertising as you possibly can, eventually you'll get where you need to be.
Oh.
I am so very grateful to be here with you two handsome gentlemen, both wearing tuxedos. I would have never guessed for a podcast, but you know what? You're looking fresh.
You have to come right.
Only the classiest attire here on the Squirrelies podcast.
Did you say Scrollies or Squirrelies?
Squirrelies is our spin-off show. Sorry, I got my wires crossed.
That's our explicit podcast.
Yeah, it's for freaks like audio to listen to.
Honestly, that guy, I tell you.
Sheriff, thank you for coming on, man. Like Squat was saying, you really are our biggest and most vocal support, and I'm flattered, but I appreciate it so much. We appreciate you being here, and we've got a very, very interesting topic today, a series of games that a lot of you have played, and for me, I'm going to be honest, I've only played a few, but I'm excited to listen to Sheriff McLawdog and our very own Squat Cobbler talk about them.
Yes, it's a series. It's a series by a certain publisher. You all may know well from the 2010s, I think was the height of their influence and their renown. Telltale Games!
Exactly. And if this was going to be in true Sheriff fashion, we'd just hang out and have a good time and laugh up until about 29 minutes, and then for about a minute we talk about Telltale.
Shade! Throwing shade!
All right, let's get the shout-outs going. We're going to show some clips here.
Okay, now, I demand more water and food in my dressing room because of this shenanigans. I feel targeted. I am a gamer. I game hard.
Seriously, no, my favorite part, I've said this so many times in the actual stream, on my own stream, Sheriff is the perfect complement to a cup of coffee and such a great positive way to get your morning started. If anyone is listening to this from any other camps who don't know Sheriff McLawdog, go follow him. He's got Mrs. McLawdog on there. It's a good time.
Follow Sheriff. It's guaranteed publicity.
No, I mean, I'm a fanboy of your guys's. I have a tattoo on my right bicep that says Squat and a tattoo on my left bicep that says Ratnado.
Whoa.
He's flexing right now.
Yeah, look at them.
And yes, those are real muscles. No, but honestly, it's because I myself personally, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I used to be a real big music head. And, you know, as I've gotten to be an older man, I find myself, listening to more podcasts. And you guys are entertaining and hilarious. And it's been a really great for me, it's Wednesday morning in the shower. Sheriff, Squat Cobbs, Team Ratnado. And it's been a great addition to my mornings.
You guys think he's joking, but Sheriff is right now in his shower, scrubbing away recording this. Removing all of this water background is going to be a pain for Ratnado.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind it. This is. I mean, your shower's a little small, but I don't mind. This is fun, you guys.
It's the only way to keep a dirty mind clean is to be in the shower during a podcast with you fine gentlemen.
We're such big fans of you as well, Sheriff. And honestly, like, we've been waiting for this. I remember you were one of the first people that I was like, Squat, we got to get Sheriff. We got to get Sheriff. And we just had a list that we were working down. I was like, okay, now we got to start getting Sheriff. And so this is actually, we've been working on this for a little bit, and we came up with a topic that is so perfectly Sheriff, you guys. Those of you who've been there in the chat, Telltale Games. Squat Cobbler, have you ever played a Telltale game before?
I have told a tale in a game before, and I played Telltale games before too. My very first one, Back to the Future, the game. It's one of their older ones. I played it not because of the name Telltale, but because of the franchise it represented. It was their first foray into big, recognizable brands, and I think that started a trend. But if you're a fan of the Back to the Future movies, the game is very much a love letter. It's got a lot of returning characters, returning voice actors even, from the movie series. Is it accessible for those who maybe aren't as well-versed in the films? Maybe not, but I had a good time playing it. I played it as it was released episode by episode in 2010 and 2011, I believe. And then from there, I played a few of their other big ones. The Walking Dead, of course, seasons 1 and 2. I started playing a few others. I think did maybe a chapter of Minecraft. Oh, before I jump too far ahead, Jurassic Park, the game, which we'll get to. That was a time.
Oh boy.
I have thoughts about Telltale, but I'll wait to get into it. Ratnado, have you played a Telltale game?
I have. A HUD just came up and told me which to say, of which option to go with. And I could lie to you. I could say something a non sequitur. And the biggest option is just to be truthful. I've only played a couple.
Sheriff will remember that.
You're also forgetting the option for do nothing, which is highly underrated.
The timer's running out.
Why won't you talk to me?
Sheriff is just looking at me. He keeps doing the same animation over and over. I didn't even know that Back to the Future was a Telltale game, to be honest. I guess now that I think back on it, I remember in like 2013, 2012, it was on PSN Plus, and I did play it a little bit. I also played Walking Dead. I've played a little bit of the Batman Telltale, which, Sheriff, you have played through. I watched you play through it.
I'm Batman.
Oh my gosh.
We finished that not too long ago. So the first one I played was Wolf Among Us. Okay, here's a little Sheriff lore. Just a little Sheriff lore. I had never played a Telltale game till probably like January of this year. Actually, in Scrolly's fashion, I typically used to only play 2D platformers, side scrollers, or say like the isometric kind of Zelda, what else?
Top
down, yeah. And then, I was just playing them when I first started streaming. It was like Dad Quest. What else was I playing? Jack Axe, like kind of very obscure indie 2D platformers. And then, I don't know, I just found what I really liked was, playing a game and not having to think much. But then that changed. Somebody suggested that I play What Remains of Edith Finch on Game Pass. And by the time I was done that, I was like, whoa. Like, I always thought the storytelling games weren't necessarily in the same vein of gaming as, hack and slash and shooters and stuff like that. But I kind of gave me a respect for just how powerful the narration or the story and the narration can kind of make it feel more like an immersive movie. It kind of, yeah. So then, obviously, if I enjoyed something like that, the next logical thing was you should play some Telltale games. So then it was Wolf Among Us, and then The Walking Dead, all 5 episodes. Not the Michonne one that I think came out afterwards. And then the Batman so far.
Telltale, reading your twitch.tv/SheriffMcLawdog, reading your bio there, you do talk that this is kind of like your big thing. Would you say that's your defining or something that helps you to say this is what my stream is really about? We know what it's really about, but as far as gaming goes.
It's tough, actually. It's kind of like an identity crisis because
Oh, no.
because I was kind of like, I think we all at some point, and this is probably just me being dumb, but I was like, I need to be good at games other people are good at to be considered a good gamer. And
Right.
I really fell away from that. I was like, if I'm not playing a game like, say, Hollow Knight, where it's like, oh, he can do that too, he's a pretty good gamer, then people will think that I'm not really into games. But as I've kind of gotten on Twitch a little bit more, or been streaming longer, you come to realize it's not necessarily what you're playing or how you're playing it. It's that your genuine response to what you're playing, be it a story game or a platformer or, your emotion or whatever. So honestly, I will probably still sprinkle in. I love pixel graphics. Pixel graphics make my heart warm and fuzzy. Because I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up with them. So I recently was just playing a couple of games on my, just not streaming it, like Siberian and just a couple.
Never even heard of that one.
Yeah, it's just an indie 2D platformer, kind of very basic, but something that I enjoy, and I'd like to sprinkle those in. But I do really like being able to be sucked into the story, where it's kind of like I want to play this so that I can figure out more of what's happening, as opposed to, a lot of games I play where it's like becomes repetitious or monotonous in, oh, you got to go fetch this item and come back, fetch this item and come back, go fight a boss, repeat 6 times. When I played that Wolf Among Us, I had no idea what was going to go on. And, if I was feeling a little saucy and someone talked back to me, I could choose to see where my sauciness could take the story into a fight scene or, de-escalate it. So it was kind of like taking the dexterity out of gaming and putting it more into your thoughts, right? Using a mental, more of a mental exhaustion than like I said, a dexterity sore fingers thing, right?
Yeah, we're getting into it already. Let's kick it off. Episode 16, Telltale Games. No, I'm not going to do that the whole time. Squat Cobbler, what is your experience with Telltale Games? For those of you who don't know, maybe you've heard it, it's kind of a weird little phenomenon that Telltale Games came up, blew up, had access to all the biggest franchises, and then they went bankrupt in 2018.
Dun, dun, dun.
It was both the reason for their success and their downfall. Real early on, before even Back to the Future, they were known for making, point-and-click games. It's been often continuations of franchises or well-known properties. Strong Bad, that was a big Newgrounds, I believe, character. They made a game off of Monkey Island. They did a point-and-click game.
You would know that.
Monkey Island.
Monkatoot.
It wasn't until they got a big studio property like Back to the Future, like Jurassic Park with Universal, that they became a more recognized indie studio, and not just they make the fun meme game from Newgrounds. No, I think we sort of saw a transition from their point and click era to their more branching narrative, quote unquote, in-depth, multi-season storied games with Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and The Walking Dead. I think The Walking Dead is what made it blow up huge.
Yeah.
Everyone, I had played Back to the Future, I think, the year before Walking Dead came out, but no one had heard of Telltale Games at that point. At least I certainly hadn't. When Walking Dead came out, everyone knew about it. Everyone knew about that game. Everyone was talking about it, talking about choices that you make and how characters will remember what you do and what you say. And it comes back later on and referenced.
Maybe.
It really felt like you were guiding the narrative, like your decisions had consequences. And I certainly have thoughts on that, and I'll get into that in a moment. But I think with the latter games in the Telltale series, I didn't play them for reasons I'll get into, but I think they kind of became more focused on the fact that they were well-known properties than that they were telling a story that you were really getting to decide the outcome of. And I'll share a little more of that, but first I'll hand it back to Sheriff. Sheriff, what do you think it is about the Telltale brand, that style of game, that draws you to it with its storylines?
There's a couple of things, actually. So, like you said, a very big part of it was that they were things that I knew put into a game form, a story-oriented game form. Because I watched The Walking Dead up to a certain point. That point I shall not mention. It was too devastating to my psyche.
Oh boy.
It was Glenn, okay? It was Glenn.
Oh, geez. I was going to say, let's talk about this after the recording.
It's coming out, the trauma.
So it was interesting to see that they actually completely, compared to The Wolf Among Us, I don't have much to compare to, but between Batman and Walking Dead, it was nice to actually see a different story, a different take on the story that, I may have previously known. And there were some things where I thought, why was that never incorporated anywhere else? Like Clementine on the Walking Dead Telltale series.
Yeah.
She should have replaced Carl in the show, hands down. I mean, she was freaking awesome, right?
Yeah.
And instead they went with Coral.
Oh, no.
No, it was interesting to see, a similar world with a different take on that world. Batman especially was quite different because we're all relatively the same age. So when I think, Batman and Two-Face and Joker, certain characters pop in your head, right? Like, Jack Nicholson, Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey's the Riddler. But then to see them, do it in their own way, it was very interesting. Like I said, it pulled me in every day. When I finished stream, I was like, gotta get into stream tomorrow so that we can see where this plays out. And I also seen a lot of the merit in the stream value of it, if you will. I don't really think about that stuff very often, but being able to be like, okay guys, we have to choose who lives and who dies.
Yeah.
What do you think and what's your argument, right? And it generated a lot of crazy conversation.
I do remember that, and I feel like I learned a lot about people in chat by just like how they responded to it and their reasoning. I'm like, wow, would not have expected that.
Some people I thought, like Code Synth, our boy, I thought Code Synth was going to be like, I don't know, live and let live type thing. But he's like, nope, you got to take them out and take all their food. I was like, okay, Code, you made the decision, not me. I don't feel bad. I'm just kidding. But no, like you said, it was very interesting.
Our boy Code, he's chilled in his streams, but when it comes to the decisions of life and death, it's let's just say that's when the metal really hits the pedal.
It's end death for Code Synth when it comes to life and death.
We all want him on our side during the apocalypse, I guess.
Squat, you were talking a little bit about just like the things you liked and you didn't like. I mean, to me, when it comes to Telltale games, that was something that always was a little, there was something about it to me where I knew where they were going to go with things. And it was awesome at first when I was like, oh yes, I get to make all these choices. But then in a lot of ways, I think maybe some of the later games did start to like make it a little more, I don't know, samey. Is that fair to say?
I can't say, I haven't played them, but my issues more so stem from the fact that it's the illusion of choice more than actually giving you choices that guide the narrative.
Interesting.
I'll give you an example. So in The Walking Dead, the first game, there's a point in the story early on where you come across this car filled with food, and you have the choice then and there. Do we take this food or do we leave it because, it belongs to someone? We don't know whose it is. It's not ours, but, we're starving. We're hungry. And, it's this real moral, ethical question. What should you do then and there? Minor spoilers, regardless of the decision you make with the food, way later in the game, that comes back up, and no matter what you decided, the outcome isn't changed. And you would think with something like that, because it's such a big deal and because it's had such a big impact on the character you meet, it's going to have some kind of effect. But no, they're linear games with a common endpoint. And even in the sequels, and I'll get into that, they make you think that your decisions are going to vastly affect different outcomes, and this really only becomes evident on replays. I should clarify. The first time around, you might as well think it does, but replaying them, I realized no. Someone might say something a little different to you. They might dislike you more, but at the end of the day, they're still gonna enter and exit around the same time. They're still going to more or less go through the same motions of we got to do this, we got to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they really have much replay value for that reason. But later on in at least The Walking Dead Season 2, the last one that I played, there are multiple endings, and you think, oh wow, so this really opens up the door for, hey, this becomes, a whole different set of circumstances, where it goes from here. And yet, in the third game, from what I understand, I looked up some clips when I was watching Sheriff play it, but pretty much no matter what ending you get, you're going to get a cutscene explaining how you got to the exact same point regardless of where things ended. So I think that just kind of irked me. Like, I don't need a story to be super non-linear. I'm fine with it being linear. I'm playing Ace Attorney right now, and that's a very much a linear story, and your choices are pretty much, hey, are you choosing the right piece of evidence to show or not? Are you getting a guilty verdict or not guilty? And that's pretty much it. But they're still entertaining because they're good stories. Telltale can be good stories, but they just get so bogged down with the Clementine will remember that. You think you have to be really careful which way you navigate, and it just doesn't really matter. Now, that's all well and good, but like you were saying, the latter games, the last one I played, I think I own Batman. I don't think I ever started it, though. I did play Chapter 1 of Minecraft, and it was just the same thing. It was, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and you're talking to this person, they're gonna come back, but no, it's all just gonna be the same story, regardless of how you play it. And if you watch other people play it, you're basically gonna come to that conclusion as well.
I mean, I guess I understand where you're coming from. And from my point of view, that was something that was still very novel in 2013, 2012, whatever it was, when Walking Dead came out. And to me, that's still not really a problem because it is my story. And, maybe that affects replay value. Sheriff, I remember when you were playing Walking Dead, that season 2, there's like a pretty big choice that you made that could have left you unsafe or a lot more safe. And I thought that was pretty cool, that they could change that much. And all of this to kind of say that, like, I think each game is an experience. It's something that you go through once. It's like we just got back from Disney World and Universal. It's like that. You go on the ride. It's kind of going to do its thing, but it's going to give you a scare, and it might not get you if you ride it again and again and again. But that one experience was really good,
I agree with both of you simultaneously, but okay, here's what I'll say. The illusion of choice is actually a great real life simulator.
Yeah.
You may think that the car you buy and the clothes you wear are going to change your fate, but they may not. If you subscribe to fate being in, things that are predestined in time, right? So I kind of looked at those games, I guess, maybe a little bit more in that vein, where how Ratnado said, I don't see replay value, to be honest. Personally, I'm not going to replay any of them. I'm perfectly fine with how the story played out and ended, and I'm not a person who wants to collect every ending. But that first go around is like you said, Disneyland. So the next time you go to Disneyland, maybe you don't hit up the same rides, maybe you don't see them in the same order, but ultimately you're walking out the exit at the end of the day, right? So yeah. Like you said, my opinion is that I think it's a good first playthrough. If you don't have any spoilers, you don't know what's going on. Because like you said, the next time, for me, I can only think of myself going, skip, stop talking, skip. You know what I mean? Because I've already been through the story, and it's only going to change in minute details along the story, but not the grand scheme of what's to happen.
Yeah. If I could share one quick thing. What I thought of while you guys were both talking, as I was thinking about what you're saying, the thought I had is like, Clementine will remember that, or this person will do this, or this person is now angry at you. That to me is also kind of just really good for role play, for the purpose of putting yourself in the headspace to make a decision. There are things where it's like, you're in Walking Dead, say, this character is kind of going to die no matter what you do. But how everyone around you responds to that, and how you do something, you're like, this is morally the best thing to do. And they're like, I can't believe you did that. And you're like, okay, you're next then. I don't care about you anymore because of that. And that puts me into like a position where that gets me attached to characters. It makes me hate characters. It makes me want to keep characters safe.
Yeah, and I get that. And I'm not saying that the lack of replay value makes them bad. Because there are moments where in later games, you'll be told something, or you'll say something to someone that you said several games back. The save file will continue on throughout the games. And those are really cool moments. Because you're like, oh my gosh, I remember saying that. I remember when that went down, assuming that you'd played the earlier games. And you had that on the same system, which most of the time I did not.
Yeah.
But for the most part, those moments are very few and far between. And what's left throughout the majority of it is a very emotional, weighty journey, in Walking Dead in particular. But it's very cheap emotional moments. It's just stuff that's very naturally going to make you feel a certain way. and there's not much more to it. And further replaying it or watching someone else play it, you're just like, okay, yeah, I see what they're doing. It's cheap tricks. It's not like there's actually much weight here. You know, we're talking about the emotional depth that's miles and miles wide, but inches deep.
Yeah, I actually really like that, because I kept saying, who suggested me to play this? This is so traumatizing. Like, why would you want me to witness some of this stuff? But like you said, it's very much reminiscent of a lot of newer movies that I kind of watch. No specific example, but like you said, they know if they don't even have to show it. If they make the sound of a dog go, you know, you immediately get that emotion, like, oh my God, what happened, right?
Yeah.
No, that's it's very interesting that you put it that way, because I immediately started thinking of like Adopt a Pet commercials, right? Where it's like they know how to make you cry inside, and it's they definitely, Walking Dead, the one when I played it, was, like I said, I played a lot of platformers and stuff like that, and the achievement of doing what you wanted to get in the level is great, but I never felt like I needed a beer after I was done, in a sense of like, okay, I gotta decompress after all of this.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you can start to see those things come out the more of them you play. And personally, like, as I think about it, again, I'm going to use the analogy of RatCon and going to Universal Studios. And shout out Crash and the Boys. To me, Telltale games are a little bit like those kind of rides, and riding with Crash and the Boys on King Kong's Skull Island ride, where you kind of, we know what they're going to do, but they're expecting you to give them a certain level of suspension of disbelief, where, you know, okay, and for those of you who don't know, I was sitting next to Crash, and on those rides where it's kind of like, you know, I'm not really falling, even though this video is making me feel like it, and the little trolley I'm on is like moving back and forth like I'm getting hit. I know I'm not really, but I'm going to let myself go with this illusion and enjoy it for the experience that it is. And to that end, like Crash and the Boys riding next to him, anytime something would happen, you'd hear him, whoa, oh, and like really reacting. And to me, that's kind of how a lot of games are, especially Telltale games. Yeah, I'm here for the ride.
You could say they were tailor-made for the reaction community on YouTube to play through and share that with others.
Telltale made.
Hey.
I mean, that does, I think that's why a lot of people you'll find navigate around Twitch looking for, say, the Walking Dead games or people playing them, because they're excited to see what the person's reaction is to what they know is coming up, right? It's almost like getting that replay in there without having to do it yourself. I want to see what they're going to choose. So, I definitely see that.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. Like, I'm not saying the games are bad. I'm just saying they don't have much depth beyond the initial playthrough, and maybe the way to enjoy them is by watching other people play them. You know, I had a fun time watching Sheriff play through it, you know, in the moments that he was. And I had more fun when he wasn't.
Oh, no!
I'm just kidding.
Initially, I used to think to myself, oh man, if I don't play enough games, people aren't going to want to hang out. But honestly,
now people only hang out without playing games.
I don't. I do like playing games and stuff. I mean, if I'm not streaming something, I'm usually doing it on my own end. But honestly, to the community aspect of things is what I only wanted, really. I wanted a place where people could all become best friends and then spread the best friendery all around type of thing. And it absolutely floors me how many amazing people I've met, and for some strange reason actually hang out in the old sheriff station.
And maybe that's one of the biggest draws for Telltale. It's very community centered. I think even some of the latter games have community chosen dialogue options. You can basically put it up to a poll basically in chat. And you know, I think if you think of it like that, maybe the way they did it makes sense, where there are so many big name franchises that, you know, fans of which can gather around and take part in the decision making. You know, after I bailed out, they had Batman, they had the Guardians of the Galaxy, they had Borderlands, a Plaidman favorite. It's a wonder they didn't do a Sonic the Hedgehog. And you know, I think by the time they went bankrupt, it was because they had basically licensed all the games and they were just so expensive. But maybe that's what made it grow as big as it did, was the fact that it was such recognizable names. People could, you know, come from all around and say, hey, I know that, you know, I want to see this person go through this journey, and maybe I can even help them along by helping them make these decisions. So that's not really my cup of tea, but I can understand how that might be an appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah, like those who, you guys said, is this the type of game that you want to define yourself by, Sheriff? And I was like, you know what, I'm okay with that. And then Squad says, no, those are the worst games ever. I'm just kidding.
I did not.
I enjoyed, like, another one just to throw in there that's not specifically Telltale, but in the same vein as a game called Oxenfree.
Oh, yeah.
For me, a lot of it is I love mystery. When you're watching a movie, I'm always trying to guess what's going to happen at the end 10 minutes in. You haven't even seen the characters, and I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be the wife in the kitchen with the rolling pin. And whenever a game or something, can pull me in like that, being excessively story, like, I don't know if you guys seen that Genesis Noir that I had played, where it was basically like a noir story version of the universe being created. With kind of like a blues soulsy type. It was really, really cool. It was by no means hard. It was like a walking simulator, and click here, touch that. Where does this go? But just wondering, what are they going to do with this? I found it more intriguing than, say, if I go and grind for another 20 hours, I can craft this shield and then go fight a bear.
Oh, now Sheriff's speaking my language.
Hey, I'm stopping this right now. No hate on grinding, okay?
No, not at all. It was just at that point, I felt like I just needed a different kind of grind. And that, like I said, that What Remains of Edith Finch, it blew me away. It really, really did, in a sense of like just feeling in depth. And then it kind of played that Gone Home and Amnesia, and just games I'd never played before. That I thought I was enjoying them.
I think what we can take from all of this is, like, I think, Sheriff, you are so set up to, not only because you enjoy Telltale games, but because I think that's what people look for. It's why people watch people who react to movies and TV shows, because they want to see you play it. And that's kind of how I feel about Telltale games as well. I agree with Scott in a lot of ways about that, of like, you kind of know what you're going to get out of a Telltale game, but hey, some people like that, and that's what they want every single time. I think it fits your time slot as well, and also your crowd. It's the ability to hit start, and let's say how sweet of a boy Audio is.
And it's surprising sometimes, just his level of sweetness.
Maybe, okay, I think we're going to wrap it up here, but we need to do a part 2, and we're just going to talk about how sweet of a boy Audio is.
Audio, do you have anything you want to say about that? Audio?
Come on, man.
Audio, you can stop doing the dishes. Come here, they're asking you a question.
Audio, look, Sheriff's here. He's here on Scrollies.
No, he's shy. He's bashful. Fine.
All right.
I really thought he'd come out of his shell for this, but I don't know.
I think he said that he doesn't feel comfortable unless his name's in the special guest, and that's just not going to happen for a little bit, Audio. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got to speak up first. We put the titles in after the episode, right?
Honestly, it's because he was saying that one version of Link was the most attractive. I mean, his credibility just went out the window.
Oh my gosh, the big lips, the baggy khaki pants. Come on, Audio, come on.
Well, Sheriff, thank you so much for coming by, man. Thanks for talking with us. It's always good to see you. You're a great spirit. You charge everybody up around you, and we're glad to have you, and hopefully we can get you back on Scrollies sometime.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't nervous, but as soon as I started talking to you guys, it felt like we were all just spamming commands, having a good old time.
Let's get a shout out for Sheriff, everyone. All right, let's get a clip up. Oh, no, not that one. No, we're trying to keep this clean.
How else are you going to impress people by sticking the whole thing in your mouth, splitting it with your tongue, and sucking off all that hot meat juice?
All right, everyone, we'll be back again next week with another episode. Go follow Sheriff. He's great. SheriffMcLawdog. Say hello to Mrs. McLawdog if she's on the stream. And hey, maybe send the guy a pizza pop. He deserves it.
He needs him in the cold, frozen north.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful, you guys. Can't wait to see you soon.
Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything else, Sheriff? Anything you want to let the people know about?
No, I mean, stream in the morning Central Standard Time, probably 9 o'clock a.m. With my wife, and we are just busy moving, and like I said, just appreciative to spend some time with you guys.
Amazing.
Time with us he does spend. It's a great time, everyone. I'm always happy to stop by the McLawdog stream in the morning, and no matter what I'm doing, he's there, and he's always so happy to see me that it inflates my ego. So follow Sheriff, everyone. He's great.
All right, we're going to take off. I am Team Radnado of twitch.tv/Team Radnado, here with my co-host,
Watt Cobbler of the Scrollies Podcast.
and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye!
Space scroll. Space.